here.
Okay, okay. I just want to make sure I'm...
Thank you. You're live.
Oh. Hi, my name is Silvia Hernandez Macalo, and I want to welcome all of you to Nido's backyard. I want to welcome the governor and the entire team behind me. And for those of you watching, I want to remind everybody to please continue supporting your local businesses. Thank you. I'm now going to pass it on to Jennifer.
That's a declarative message. Yeah. That's a good message. I like it. Well done. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. I'm Jennifer Barrera with the California Chamber of Commerce, and we are so happy to be here on behalf of the Chamber, on behalf of the entire business community. I want to thank the governor, legislators, elected officials who are here today for their leadership and partnership in putting together such an important package that the governor is going to sign here today. As we know, there are countless businesses throughout California like Nido's who have struggled as a result of this pandemic, who have met unprecedented challenges over the past 2 years. We've seen our businesses, both large and small, step up to the plate to protect their employees, to protect the communities in which they work in, and we are pleased about that. After all we have been through, there is good news today. The legislation that the governor is going to sign today has over $6 billion in economic relief for our businesses. With the legislation that's going to be signed today, businesses like Nido's will get a $500 million tax cut for restaurants and venues, $150 million in direct grants for small employers, and more importantly, a restoration of $5.5 billion in tax credits and tax deductions for employers throughout California to utilize immediately. This much needed tax relief is not only essential for the immediate help of employers, but it also creates a pathway and lays the foundation for long-term economic recovery for our employers. This deal also includes an improved COVID sick leave policy for employees to utilize when they're sick or when their family members are sick. Through close discussions and negotiations, we believe this more limited and targeted policy removes some of the administrative challenges that employers faced during this unpredictability caused by the pandemic. And with lower infection rates, we are hopeful that the worst of this virus is behind us, that the need for this leave will continue to diminish as we continue to make progress in our fight against COVID. I want to thank the governor, the legislators again for this important action they are taking today, for the quick action. And with that, I'm going to welcome Champion for Oakland and the East Bay Supervisor Dave Brown. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And today I really want to thank Governor Newsom for his leadership during the COVID pandemic. From the very beginning, he's been there for Californians, and he continues to do so. Paid sick leave for those who are COVID positive keeps our community safe and supports more rapid economic recovery. It just makes sense to do this. But it takes vision and tenacity to put together a plan and provide the funding to make it happen. Early in the pandemic, the late County Supervisor Wilma Chan, my former boss, created a program that provided stipends for COVID positive workers in our most impacted neighborhoods. These were workers who had to face the difficult decision of continuing to work and providing for their families or staying home and isolating for the protection of the community. The stipends worked. But we could not possibly serve workers throughout our county of 1.6 million residents. The governor's new program will do just that. To launch this new policy and allocate the needed resources, Governor Newsom forged an alliance with legislative leaders and employer organizations. As he has done countless times, the governor has put California residents first. Alameda County is grateful for this important program that will provide the needed support for workers during this latest surge and beyond. This policy is important for public health, it's important for the economy, and it's important for all of California. Thank you. At this time, it's my pleasure to introduce our incredible State Assemblywoman, Mia Bonta.
Good morning, everyone. I am Assemblymember Mia Bonta, and I would like to welcome you to my district and my backyard, actually Nito's backyard here today. We got to hear from a wonderful small business that really represents the opportunity that we have with this new budget action. I'm very excited and thrilled and thankful to be a part of this incredible legislative achievement with my colleagues for public health and the administration in leading us in this way. This initiative is a product of a close partnership between the administration, legislature, and business and labor groups, and a big win for all groups involved. And let me tell you what kind of a difference it makes for us. In 20 to 21, more than 94% of our businesses here in Oakland, Alameda, and San Leandro have been small businesses, and nearly 9 out of 10 of them have been ones who have stood independently and alone. And with this budget action, we're letting them know that they are no longer alone, that the state of California is here with us, that the governor is here with them every single day, and that the legislature is standing behind them. And we know that without the ability to offer paid sick leave and take paid sick leave, regardless of our guidelines or the CDC guidelines, sick workers cannot show up to work. And now they have the ability to do that, which means workers are able to work, businesses are able to thrive, and our community is able to build back even amidst the COVID pandemic as we continue to face that. And with that, I would like to introduce my wonderful colleague, State Senator Nancy Skinner.
Thank you very much, Assemblymember Bonta. I'm Nancy Skinner, State Senator, also representing this area, and Chair of the Senate's Budget Committee. And I want to just thank Sylvia and her family for this wonderfully welcoming and delicious restaurant, Nito's Backyard, which I have spent many a great afternoon in. We know how hard our restaurants have struggled in the pandemic, but as you can see, just looking around, what an incredibly welcoming space that she and her family have made this Nito's Backyard so that all of us can enjoy great food and be comfortable. SB 114, a budget bill, and the other bills that will be signed today represents really excellent work between our governor and his administration, the legislature, our businesses, our labor groups, and workers. It's a big win for all who are involved. And as paid sick leave gets debated across the nation, because the paid sick leave that the federal government provided expired, California is doing the right thing. California is acting, and we're getting it done. Because none of us need to have any worker show up to work and be sick. Because we are trying to end this pandemic. And the way that we end it is to stop the spread of COVID. So allowing our good workers to be able to stay home when they need to be able to make an appointment to get that vaccination or that booster, and to be able to get their kids vaccinated, or to be able to stay home with their kids if their kids get sick. That's the way we protect the public health. And I want to thank Governor Newsom for always putting our public health first. And as a result, California, in terms of the large states, has one of the lowest per capita death rates. Even though the pandemic, we have high death rates, unfortunately, still right now in California, but compared to other states, the incredible good precautions we've taken have helped lessen that. And that's why we're continuing to do this. So SB 114 provides up to 80 hours of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave to our workers. So important. And it's retroactive to January 1st of this year. And as we've watched this Omicron surge, clearly that was necessary. As Jennifer from the Chamber mentioned, the other bills that we signed as part of this early budget action, the other bills that the legislature acted on, which were budget bills and which we hope the governor will sign today, included this $6.1 billion in relief to our businesses up and down the state, and she detailed what those were. So I'm just really proud of how California under the leadership of Governor Newsom has fought against COVID and helping workers stay home when they are sick or if their kids are sick is so important in that. And we're going to keep at it until this pandemic ends, and we really thank you. Oh, and now I want to introduce Assemblymember Wendy Carrillo, who is from Los Angeles, but she is one of the new sub-chairs for the Assembly Budget Committee. Assemblymember Carrillo.
Good morning. It is so great to join you all here today to celebrate the signing of the extension of COVID-19 paid sick leave. Just this morning, our U.S. Senator Alex Padilla tweeted that COVID paid sick leave should be extended on a national level, which California is already leading on. This is a testament to the leadership of Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon, Senate Pro Tem Tony Atkins, and our Governor Gavin Newsom. I'd like to thank the California Chamber of Commerce for their commitment to our state's economic recovery, and thank our friends at the California Federation of Labor and our labor allies for fighting for workers in all spaces. Whether or not they are in a union, labor has and will continue to advocate for working families, which brings us here today. This deal includes a $6.1 billion business relief package, which Senator Skinner spoke on, including a $500 million tax cut for restaurants and venues, $150 million in direct grants for businesses, and $5.5 billion in tax credits and deductions to spur innovation. To date, more than 80,000 Californians have lost their lives because of COVID-19. We know that the majority of these workers are essential and frontline workers, most of whom are low income, from marginalized communities and communities of color. No one should be forced to make the decision of going to work sick or a choice between losing their job or taking care of their health, the health of their child or a loved one, as we continue to work through all of the different obstacles with COVID-19. Today's bill signing is one of social and moral consciousness, because COVID-19 is truly a life or death issue that not only affects those that are impacted by COVID, but clearly the safe economic recovery of our state. I'll say a few words in Spanish. Buenos días. Es una gran emoción estar aquí con ustedes hoy para celebrar la firma de la extensión de la ley para poder recuperar el pago sobre COVID-19. Justo esta mañana, nuestro senador Alex Padilla en las redes sociales anunció la importancia de esta ley a través del país. Esto es un testimonio del liderazgo del presidente de la Asamblea, Anthony Rendon, el presidente del Senado, la presidenta del Senado, Tony Atkins, y nuestro gobernador, Gavin Newsom. Me gustaría agradecer la Cámara de Comercio de California por su compromiso hacia la recuperación de la economía de nuestro estado, y agradecer también a nuestros amigos en la Federación Laboral de California y nuestros aliados por luchar por los trabajadores en cualquier espacio, aunque tengan o no sean parte de un sindicato. El labor y las uniones siempre están defendiendo a los trabajadores a través de este estado. Este acuerdo incluye un paquete que ayuda a más de $6 billones para apoyar a nuestras empresas, que incluye reducciones de taxes estatales y bastantes recursos para poder recuperar nuestra economía. A esta fecha, más de 80,000 personas han perdido sus vidas en nuestro estado. Sabemos que la mayoría de estas personas son trabajadoras esenciales y de primera línea, la mayoría cuales vienen de recursos bajos, de comunidades marginadas y comunidades de color. Nadie debería de tener la opción de trabajar enfermo o perder la oportunidad de ingresos para poder pagar la renta o poder pagar la comida de su familia. La firma de esta ley de hoy es una conciencia social y moral para poder proteger a todos los trabajadores de nuestro estado y poder también proteger las comunidades a través de este estado y las familias que necesitan apoyo. And with that, I just want to say thank you, and I want to introduce our great governor, Gavin Newsom. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember. And I want to just thank everybody assembled behind me. Nitos, thank you very much for opening up today. Means a lot, particularly at the last minute, which I recognize this was put together, at least the venue, at the very last minute. I want to thank, in particular, all of the folks that have been appropriately recognized in terms of their remarks, but also recognized in their remarks. But truly, as the Assemblywoman said, led by our Speaker and our Pro Tem. We had conversations a number of weeks ago about the prospect of moving quickly and focused way, in a focused manner, to put together a package that not only included sick leave for people here in the state of California, but addressed the stresses and travails that small businesses, medium and large businesses continue to struggle through as it relates to the impacts of this pandemic. We were able to agree on the parameters of that, and quite literally within weeks, here we are with the opportunity now to sign this legislation. That would not have happened without their assertive leadership, without the extraordinary leadership and support of Assemblywoman Carrillo, who's long been a champion of paid sick leave, the advocacy and support of Assemblywoman Bonta and her strong advocacy, particularly for small businesses, as well as for the work that we're advancing relating to the health and public safety of our residents. And of course, the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Senator Skinner, who's very familiar to many events like this, as we have participated in partnership over the course of last year on making many similar announcements supporting not only public health, but also supporting the health of our small businesses. I want to, though, extend a particular expression of appreciation to Jennifer and the California Chamber for their willingness to work together with the California Labor Fed. This is what it looks like when everybody works together and rows in the same directions, working to address anxieties and concerns and compromise and find a balance that I think strikes chord with the vast majority of Californians. So it's a long way of saying this. I'm really proud to be here. I'm proud of their hard work. We wouldn't be here without them. And I'm honored to be able to sign these pieces of legislation today. Just briefly, and you know why we're here, and the speakers did an amazing job going through the details of what we are advancing here today, the $6.1 billion in tax relief and or grants, and the work to advance our paid sick leave with a retroactivity clause that goes back to January to keep employees, keep patrons, keep employers safe and healthy, and businesses open and operationalized. But I want to make a point that's important to underscore. That $6.1 billion, that's on top of what we did just a few months ago. It wasn't that long ago. We did a $6.2 billion tax relief for small businesses. It wasn't that long ago. We put aside $4 billion additional money for grants, not loans, not tax credits, grants to small businesses. And I think it's important to highlight, it's one thing to talk about these things. How are we doing? And I want folks to know that $3.56 billion, $3,560 million has been distributed to over 311,000 businesses in this state through that grant program. The $4 billion is fully encumbered. And the reason they referenced, and you heard it from a number of speakers, the additional $150 million of grants, not tax credits, is that's the number of businesses and the amount of money that is outstanding based upon the applications that came in. That $150 million will provide relief for what we estimate to be about 13,500 additional businesses that were left out of that first $4 billion round that will be able to advance that relief in a very short order. So I'm just really proud of the work we've done together in this space. We started relatively modestly. Seems like a year and a half ago with $500 million. We had another 200. We built on that, a few billion more, working with the legislative leadership. And here we are, $4+ billion of grants, adding another $150 million today. In addition to these tax credits, conformity, issues around venues, large and small, and yes, restaurant revitalization loans that came from the federal government and grants that now will have that tax conformity, which, trust me, is very important to businesses like this. We continue to enjoy remarkable growth in this state. Just shy of 26% of America's jobs came out of the state of California in December. The latest jobs report. We look forward to seeing how well California is doing in a week or two. We have Dee Dee Myers here who runs GoBiz. We're always eager to get from her first the California jobs total. It's usually lagging about a couple weeks, but the last numbers that came out, 26% of America's jobs coming out of the state of California, 3.2% above our pre-pandemic GDP. Just consider the U.S. is 1.4% above its pre-pandemic GDP. California's at 3.2%, 2 times that of states like Texas. I'm just making that point. And I'm making this deeper point of how proud we are of businesses large and small, their resiliency, their grit, their determination. That is not because of Sacramento that we lay claim to that status. That's because of small businessmen and women that put everything on the line for new beginnings, for creating the magical moments that they create every single day and night in venues like this, but create opportunities and jobs and revenue that allow California to grow and prosper and continue to lead the nation in so many categories. So again, expression of gratitude to the job creators, the entrepreneurs, the innovators, the folks that, again, are out there taking risks every single day that define the best of our state. But again, businesses cannot thrive in a world that's failing. And that's why sick leave is foundational. Keeping people healthy, keeping patrons safe is so important. And that's why I'm proud these two things came together in this early action. We didn't wait till June, July. Early action here in the first week of February to advance this cause. I know that a number of you are here for perhaps other causes and have questions, but with that, let's take the moment to sign these bills and then go to the Q&A. But I want to ask that those that are responsible come around. All right. Perfunctory. I need these shots. What we got? How many? A lot of bills. All right. Well, we'll just start signing, and then I'll start handing them randomly. All right. Where's the supervisor? Get in here, Sue. All right, thank you, Supervisor. Jen, $5.5 billion right here. 6 million. Well, no, here's the other 600 million. Yeah, now it's 6.1. We'll take it. All right, we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Good morning, Governor Newsom.
Morning.
Yeah. This is Ryan Curry with ABC 7 News. I want to ask you about the mask mandate coming up.
Yeah.
We've already seen some Bay Area counties announce they're going in line with the state with their decision to also lift the mandate, but Santa Clara County deciding to keep theirs. I want to ask you, in communities close-knit like the Bay Area, would you rather see them work to close in line and together or separate with this? And also, how do you think lifting the mandate as well as this, what you're signing today, is going to help these businesses recover faster?
We've seen about a 75% reduction since our peak. We were at 152,000 cases on January 4th. And this is an interesting data point. On January 4th, not that long ago, 152,000 cases were reported. We are averaging in the last 7 days 32,000 cases. 152,000, January 4th. A month or so later, averaging the last 7 days 32,000 cases. We've seen significant decompression in our hospitals. Down from a peak of over 15,000 COVID-positive patients to about 10,000 today. ICUs about 2,000 today. Substantial decompression in the ICUs as well. We're moving in the right direction. We've made tremendous progress, and that progress is exampled all across the state of California, but not equally. And as a consequence of that, in consideration of such, California has always established itself from the bottom up. One size does not fit all. We have basic mandates in terms of minimum expectations, but we allow local control. We allow local decisions to be made, and for no other reason than this state's larger than 21 state populations combined. I saw a map the other day of just LA County. The Assemblywoman will appreciate that, in red, and showed all the states in America that had smaller populations than the one dot in LA County, which was the overwhelming majority of American states. And that gives you a perspective of our approach. That map really, symbolized and substantively, I think, exampled why we make decisions with local considerations in mind. And so a consequence of that, as we unwind, as we move forward with ringing the bell as it relates to moving yet through another phase of this pandemic. We do so mindful that each county, local health officers, based on local conditions, will make determinations for themselves. Your question, though, is a thoughtful question. As it relates to regions rising together and organized constructs, we have remarkable relationships, not just through the state, but the regions do themselves with local health officers working on a daily basis, local elected officials as well. And we recognize those jurisdictional boundaries as it relates to public health, and the epidemiology of these diseases require that kind of collaboration and spirit. But I think broadly, we're moving in a direction that will be embraced by the vast majority of cities and counties in this state over the coming weeks. The state had a 30-day mandate for mask wearing that we announced on December 13th and was in effect on December 15th through January 15th. We extended it for another month. We won't be extending it next month. So it was a 60-day period during the rise of Omicron, but we still allow for local control. And as I said, I believe the vast majority of local jurisdictions will see in their own data what we're seeing in the aggregate in the California data, that we are in a very different place. Also a different place with therapeutics, a different place with genomics, a different place as it relates to understanding the unique qualities of masks, the kinds and types of masks, as well as obviously vaccines. And we continue to promote and push more vaccines, people getting boosted. 55% of Californians have gotten that boost, a little over 13.3 million booster shots. We want to see those numbers go up. We're not going to let off that effort to promote boosters. And I just want to preview now with a little more specificity. We will be putting out next week. I've been previewing this last month because we've been working on it for more than a month, our endemic plan. And in that endemic plan, I think we'll be able to answer many questions that a lot of you have about what world are we living in, where are we going with this virus, and how can we create criteria in terms of community surveillance and an approach to this pandemic as we transition into an endemic phase where we can address the latter part of your question, which was the impacts of these rules and regulations and requirements, particularly on small businesses, individuals, and the like. And so we'll be looking forward to putting out that plan in a matter of days, as well, if you're curious, putting out additional information about what's next for masking in our public schools. And we have been working now for weeks with our education partners. Remember, there's 1,050 school districts in California, 10,500 plus schools. Everybody has strong opinions, local boards and superintendents, county, and the like. And we are getting closer and closer to making public an announcement on mask wearing in our public schools. And no one looks forward to that more than I do. And hopefully in a matter of days, we'll be putting that out.
Good morning, Governor. Hannah Wiley with the LA Times. I'm going to ask a bit more on that, though, because the universal statewide mask mandate, like you said, expires February 15th. There's tremendous progress. You mentioned local control. So at what point will the state lift its school mask mandate? But can you specifically outline what factors you're looking for in making that decision?
So I think in many ways, those factors will be answered as we relates to putting out our detailed plan. But I think the fundamental factor that goes to your question, and the reason why we are continuing to work with our local education partners, is the vaccination rates in our schools are substantially lower than they are for adults. Let me give you a specific proof point. We're over 92% of 18-year-olds plus receiving at least one dose. We're less than 28%, I believe. Quote me, but verify. I think we're at 27.5% this morning in 5 to 11-year-olds receiving their vaccines. And so that's substantially smaller percentage of our 5 to 11-year-olds. And that's why we continue to work with those local health officers and local superintendents, county superintendents, school boards, and leaders within the system, and try to address their concerns as it relates to community spread, as it relates to what they anticipate experiencing once those mask requirements are removed. So, as I said, we're a matter of days away from putting out that updated recommendation. We continue to allow local control, as again we have done since the beginning of this pandemic, and then we'll be putting out detailed strategies of what we're looking for moving forward as it relates to community spread measurements and what the endemic strategy looks like, which I think will begin to answer many of the questions that you have.
Hi, this is Victoria Colliver with Politica. Thank you, Governor, for taking time to answer the questions. You hear me? So to piggyback on Hannah's question is, I just was wondering if you can offer a little more insight of what the tension points are with the CTA, the districts, and then kind of a dual thing is also, I'm wondering if you can tease a little bit more about, in terms of your endemic strategy, if what that would address. Are you talking about asymptomatic testing, quarantines? Just give us a little more insight into that.
Yes, and yes. I'm already, my team was upset. I even previewed it a month ago, 2 weeks ago, last week, and I'm sure that they're kicking me as I speak. Look, we've been working hard on this plan for some time, and I've been very transparent with you how long that's been, as I've been previewing it for some time. We've been working with national experts, not just local and state experts. It's a reflective plan in many respects. We're looking back at the last 2 years, what worked, what didn't, what we've all learned, the journey we've been on together. I don't want to oversell it. I mean, it's not a prescriptive plan in every way, shape, or form. In fact, in many ways, it reflects the moment we're in, which is iterative, and allows for the kind of flexibility of thinking that is incumbent upon all of us as it relates to dealing with any endemic, particularly one as stubborn and circular as COVID. And as it relates to that plan, again, next week we'll be putting it out, and we'll have the whole health team there at that presentation answering questions about what's next across the spectrum. You mentioned a dozen plus other considerations as it relates to what we will look to in terms of guideposts and measurements and considerations to address any subsequent surges and new variants as it relates to this disease. Specific, though, to schools, honestly, I can't impress upon you more how proud I am of all of the bargaining units and paraprofessionals, not just teachers, but across the spectrum. How proud I am of our public education and educators in the system and their representatives in terms of having a collaborative approach to addressing the masking. I mean, it was just a few weeks ago, recall, we were pushing back against the temptation you saw expressed in places like Chicago to shut down schools because we wanted to keep them open for in-person instruction, and we held strong. And all those folks, had the back of our kids and our parents and our communities, and there were a lot of stress associated with that, a lot of impact over the course of this last month in our public schools, and we were able to keep those schools open. By the way, I want to give you a proof point on that, so I'm not just asserting something that can't be backed up. We have 12% of the nation's students, roughly 1% of the school closures. So California outperformed the vast majority of states in terms of keeping those schools open because we worked not as sparring partners, but collaborative working partners with these representative groups. And so we're doing the same thing as it relates to the masking. They just asked for a little bit more time, and I think that's responsible, and I respect that. But we also are in date with destiny. We recognize that we want to turn the page on status quo, and so we've been previewing that. And as I said, I expect within the next few days, I don't want to overstate, Monday maybe at the outset, that we will be putting out details about what we will be looking forward to as it relates to school and mask wearing.
Governor Greg Lee from KTVU. A quick question for you related to the COVID-19 extended sick leave. Part of the concern was about...
Thank you for the question.
Part of the concern was
I'm almost... This is a disequilibrium moment for me on topics.
The cost on business owners. Do you anticipate that these grants and things that we spoke of are enough to cover the cost for business owners, or do you anticipate some relief in the June budget?
Well, I'm a business owner, and so I know a thing or two about this topic. I mean, look, we've done a lot. We've done mainstream hiring tax credit, $1,000 tax credit for new employees. We've been waiving licensing fees, including for this business, for 2 years, the ABC licensing fees, which is not an insignificant amount of money. We help with sales tax. We help with delaying filing on other taxes, including state income taxes. We've been trying to do a lot to support these small businesses. But your question's the right question. Is it enough? If it's not, we're going to do more. And I have all the confidence in the world. You know, I mentioned a moment ago, we started with $500 million. We added another billion as it relates to the grants, and we realized it wasn't enough. But the legislature moved quickly. To their credit, they're very in tune because they're in every one of these communities. And these businesses are the anchor to those communities. In fact, that's what defines community, is a place where we can come together across our differences and we find those magical moments and those commonalities and the serendipity that is life, and you may even find your future husband or wife at a venue like this. The point being, it is life, and these are the lifebloods of community. And so there's no convincing or coercing this legislature, quite the contrary, in helping our small businesses. And I would expect, as needs present themselves, we will indeed do more.
Hi, Governor. Shomek from the Bay Area News Group. This is the final question. One of the counties here in the Bay Area, Contra Costa, just ended a requirement for businesses to check for vaccination proof, namely because, as health officials said, 2 doses no longer constitutes full vaccination. Do you see there being a future where businesses or even counties require checks for booster doses? Do you see that as a sustainable path forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's an open-ended question. It's an interesting question. And I can't, one thing I've learned in a state is this large, 476 plus cities, 58 different counties. Supervisor Brown has a lot of different colleagues of different points of view just on this county board, let alone city councils and the like. There are different points of view, different approaches in terms of the specific question that you posed. So I would anticipate that there may be different versions along the lines you've suggested. Look, the bottom line for us, though, is to continue to encourage people to get boosted, to continue to make the point that the boosters are critical. And we've discovered that as an essential part of our strategy to mitigate the impacts of this Omicron surge. We know that the impacts of getting COVID, if you've been boosted, are substantially modified and mitigated as a consequence. And so I cannot impress upon people more that just because we're moving and turning the page on mask wearing, that this disease is behind us. Quite the contrary. I've said it over and over and again. I started and ended last year by saying the word of the year is humility. We start 2022 with that word top of mind. We are humbled in the face of this disease in all its forms and manifestations, mindful that it is not extinguished, it's not yet behind us, mindful we still have a lot of work to do to convince people that they should still get vaccinated, let alone boosted. I'll just close on that. This last 7 days, about 700,000 shots have been administered, meaning vaccine shots have been administered in the state. That's not insignificant, but it's not where we want to be. We still have work to do. And so one of the things, a bit more of a preview into next week's thinking in our new endemic plan, is really laying out a strategy to continue to educate, continue to be mindful always. And there's no greater leaders than the 3 assembled here, 4 assembled on the issue of equity, that we still have a lot of work to do to close those equity gaps and meet people where they are and deal, yes, in closing, with not just misinformation, but the overt disinformation that continues to be perpetuated, you know who you are, by individuals, organizations, networks in this country that continue to put people's lives at risk, and businesses at risk as well, that look forward in closing to this disease and pandemic being behind us once and for all. I'm grateful for the people behind me, and we're thankful for all of you for being here as well behind the cameras. Thanks for having us today.